As soon as we show up on YouTube here, I don't know that it's going to let us open. There we go. Okay, folks, we are live. And we're going to patiently wait as people come in. There's only the three of us so far, it looks like. There's four. Oops, let me turn my camera on. Greetings, everybody. Greetings. Please feel free to say hi to everybody as you drop in. Yeah.
But I just put this in there.
I missed who that came from and what you said. Greetings, Jimmy Shively, Crystal Douglas. Greetings, greetings. Feel free to hit the StreamYard link. It's pinned above. Should be. Let me double check. Okay, yep. I'm just going through the sites right now and make sure we're broadcasting where we're supposed to be. Okay, we're on there. And I'm going to double check this and drop a StreamYard link here. And again, thanks everybody for joining. If you look down in the details, there's a link down there for any Facebook contributions. My apologies if you do not have a PayPal account and cannot contribute through that button. But I did try to generate a new button, but it produced some unexpected consequences. And so I'm limited of the funds right now because of some holdings due to that PayPal button. So I had to get rid of that and go back to the original button until I can figure it out with the PayPal credit program. So that'll be taken care of today, hopefully. But in the meantime, again, thanks everybody for joining. Let me double check. Says Scott StreamYard, but it says it will not connect their mic and cam. So you got to connect. You got to allow for the StreamYard to have your mic and cam to join the panel, brother. I'm not requiring people. There we go. I'm not requiring people to open video, but please. Okay, I do ask that when you come on, you mute.
Try to find the remote.
Okay, I got you muted, Scott. But when you're ready to come on, you can just hit the unmute button. I appreciate you joining the panel. We're open for all inputs, particularly myself, because I'm one of those guys. People seem to think I know it all, and I don't. And I desperately need everybody's input from other perspectives. So thank you for joining. And let's see what everybody's saying in the comments. Daring Lion, greetings. Robert Scott, always good to see you here. There's a link, the panel StreamYard link, if anybody wants to join. It's pinned at the top. Benja S. and Ginger, Jimmy Jr., thank you. Please be sure to hit that like button. Hit the share button for sure. Get this information out. I'd like to have as many people watching today as possible. It's important information, and I'd like to get my viewership up. So please hit that share button. And certainly, I would hope that you'd hit the subscribe button and notifications so you will get notifications of my upcoming streams and lives. And with that, we're going to get started. Okay, screen share. Where are we at? Okay. We're going to give it a second. Make sure it loads up. Like I said, I'm still rather new at this, and so I got to double check everything as I go so I can perfect it. And here we are. And I'm going to turn this up a little bit. Okay. As we see, we are looking at ty suffix meaning. In other words, it's something that comes after a primary word. Okay. Anytime you have a primary word and you add something to it, like a prefix or a suffix, it is a transition. And what it does is it tells us that we can contract or subtract what was added onto it. It's a contraction. It makes it smaller. Just like cannot can be contracted into two words as one. Anything that has a suffix or prefix is also the same thing. It's giving you a qualifying term, which is a definitive statement within one comment. And this one here, it literally means 20, 30, a suffix of numerals denoting multiples of 10. So when we add the term or the word real in front of it and end up with realty, as in real estate, we talk about realty, R-E-A-L-T-Y, and that is the 1/10 of the law versus 9/10 of the law as it regards to possession, the physical thing, okay, the actual thing. Then we go to ITY, suffix meaning. So again, if we take ITY, the suffix meaning, and add real to it, we've got a different word, slightly different, because we've got one little symbol with two key strokes, two strokes. It's got the one long stroke and then a dot. That's considered a stroke. Quality, state, or degree availability, stability, stable, status, standing, steed. Okay, so that is the quality of the thing. The quality of the thing is the real itty. It's not the reality. That's different. That's you're announcing it reality. Okay. So let's look that up. The suffix ality, and if you put the prefix re, making reality suffix, in general, in gene, ral, which is literally means rule, or rail, which is when they delineate you, meaning they put you in a straight line, as in a rail or on a rail, a connected line. Ality, suffix used or is used to extract, like subtract, contract from something, the characteristic nature of that thing. That is what I keep telling people. I'm not a noun. I am a verb. Every act I take is a breath of God. Therefore, it's an act of God. That's how reality works for me. Because I don't see it as reality. It's real. Itty. So when we think about this stuff, we've got to think about the context of what we're reading as to whether it's constructed as R-E-A-L-I-T-Y and has a different meaning than R-E-A-L-I-T-Y. Very different inflections, very different connotations. It's like addiction and dedication. They basically mean the same thing. Dale Earnhardt Jr. died of his dedication because he refused to give up racing. His son may die of the same dedication. I, as an addict, as they express, have the same dedication to doing my thing. They say people die from certain addictions. That's a negative connotation of being dedicated to the same thing. An alcoholic refuses to admit that he's addicted because they've convinced him that he's an alcoholic because he refuses to give up his drink. That's an addiction. It's a dedication. It's the same thing. It's just a different expression. So when we read things and we interpret them, it's a different thing. So I'm going to show you the etymology of comment. As we think about government, ment, M-E-N-T, the mentality, the mindset. And then com means with. So it literally means with mind. Comment means with mind. It means to think. But it also, in its etymology, means fiction, fabrication. It means that what we're taking from our thinking and making it a reality through our imagination. I'm age in nation. I'm of adult age. I'm able to do these things now. I'm able to create. So let's look up and then go back. We got to do screen share again. And feel free guys to interject in comment, because that's truly what it is. I need your opinions. I need to comprehend what you fabricate in your mind. Imagination. Because I could believe in the same imagination. We could get to know it as true. So we see comment as a noun. Late 14th century means explanation. Explain, as in a plane, flat, as in a piece of paper where you put the comments, explanation, spoken or written, remark. Remember I said every keystroke, every mark. One was a long line up and down and one was a dot. They're two different marks, but they're considered keystrokes. Remark. So you saw the mark and you remarked, either spoken or written. It's all based upon your observance. Commentary, or directly from late Latin, commentum, comment, interpretation. In classical Latin, invention, fabrication, fiction. And this is where they get their classifications. They are classifying you according to their definitions. So again, we have to realize what we're reading. Is it realty, or reality, or real-ity? In classical Latin, invention, the imagination. Fabrication, the imagination. Fiction, the imagination. But when we bring it to fruition and make it a reality, real-ity, it becomes real. Neuter, past participle of communici. Does that sound kind of like communism? To contrive, devise, from com, hyphen. Here perhaps an intensive prefix, see com, hyphen. The base of memenici, again, com memenici. Almost like communism. To remember. If you lost your arm, that's part of your member, your body, your member. And if you attach it, it's remember. So when you go out upon the world as a spendthrift and don't give a fuck about your father and the true spirituality, the spiritual sense, and succumb to the manual sense and start making all these illicit, ill-I-see-it comments, then you're the problem. You need to remember the spiritual, to come out of the manual, come out of her, and realize that you're supposed to be a prodigal son and return to what your natural or natural essence is. Nativity. related to mens, genitive mentis, the mentality. Thus, the COMMENT, ment, mentality, mind, men, to think. Men. Think about that. What is men? Men are the classified people that think differently than every other creature because we have this concept of spiritual. Yet we subject ourselves to the manual. That's the descension, and the ascension is the rising back to your mentality. The Latin word meaning something invented was taken by Isidore and other Christian theologians for interpretation, annotation, connotation, content, comment. No comment as a stock refusal to answer a journalist's question is first recorded in 1950 from Truman's White House press secretary, Charles Ross. So they expressed fiction, a fabrication of their imagination, of their thinking. If it doesn't align with your thinking, then you shouldn't be using it. So what does this all have to do with us and our reality? It has to do with 42 USC Chapter 7, Social Security, 42, which is 42 USC 301. If you put that into your search engine, 42 USC 301, it will come up with authorization and of appropriations. When you give them data elements, you are giving them your authorization. You wrote it. You authored it. So it's their authorized. They saw it, and they're doing it for their nation. Of appropriations. What's appropriate? Pro, future. Proper, person. Future person. You're setting out the guidelines for something in the future. You are, in fact, authorizing them under a contract. Grants to states for old age assistance. Old age assistance has nothing to do with women and children. If it weren't for the man, the men, the thought, the thinking, all of it. And this is, if you go over here on the side, you'll see this is a long page. There's a lot of details. We're not going to read all this. I just wanted to point this section out because it's talking about the grants to old age survivors. Okay? Old age assistance, which is talking about survivors. What is survivor? From Latin, vivus, alive, living. So what's the sur? Oops. There's a problem with the sur. I'm a viver. I'm not a survivor. I am a viver. I am alive. I am living. Genesis 2:7. Man, as in men, became a living soul. My thoughts are living. Your thoughts are living. You have that authority. Okay. Consequently, under 5 USC 301, this is where it all starts for that 42 USC 301. For those grants, it starts at enumeration at birth. Under executive agency, you're the one that is executing that document by giving your signature, sign of nature. It's your nature to sign and then curse yourself because you make comments and then sign in cursive. Executive agency, chapter powers, departmental regulations, Let's see. Minimum standards, remember STA as in status, standing, steed, instead of the living soul. the minimum standards for a birth certificate was noted. Okay? Birth certificate means a certificate of birth for an individual, regardless of where born, who is a citizen or national of the United States at birth, wherein it states that a United States citizen or national is born in the United States, and here it says for an individual regardless of where it's born. Yet you're born in the state and ledgered as an individual, not yet a resident, because that registration is merely the establishment of a corporate fiction whose birth is registered in the United States. Did you know that there is no birth registration in the United States? Pay attention. The only birth registrations are listed in the states, and then they cede their jurisdiction to the United States. So there's a record of it, but it's not registered in the United States. Oops. That means there's a definite discrepancy in this code for the minimum standards for birth certificates. I'll show you another thing. Under resident, which I've already showed you, I'm not going to show you again, I'm just going to repeat it. Resident, under their definition of resident, 19 U.S.C. 81O says that the only persons allowed to reside within the zone, which is the states, each state is a foreign trade zone of the United States, and the only persons allowed to reside in those zones are federal, state, or municipal officers or agents whose resident presence is deemed necessary by the board. When you're born, you're set up as a resident in the state automatically by the classification of individual, and then recorded under the federal records through 5 U.S.C. 552A, individual records. Oops, that's employee code. So when they name an individual and they register you as an individual resident at the state level, that what they're actually claiming is that you're a United States employee that wasn't born in the United States, but therefore you don't have a United States birth certificate and can't. This is why I keep saying you cannot be a United States citizen. There is no such thing, no matter how much you want to believe. So let's look at the next thing. The words executive department are substituted for department, as the definition of department applicable to this section is coextensive with the definition of executive department in section 101. The words not inconsistent with law are omitted as surplusage. Sur plus age. Get it? As a regulation which is inconsistent with law is invalid. Therefore, their minimum requirements for enumeration at birth to provide that birth certificate is inconsistent with law because it's stating something that is impossible. The words or military department are inserted to preserve the application of the source of law. Oh, really? So the source of your administrative law is military. 32 CFR 1602.4 says area office. Read it. 32 CFR 1602.4. I'll double check that real quick. Yes, 1602.4. Now, we go down here to this part. National Security Act of 1947. The provisions of Title IV. Title IV is in concern with the Title IV D insurance programs under Title 19 Social Security, which you are pre-qualified for through the CMMS, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, automatically under Selective Service System. The Selective Service System is responsible for all administration and operations. 32 CFR 1602.4. And it says, the provision, National Security Act of 1947, except to the extent inconsistent with the provisions of this act, inconsistent with the provisions of this act, and the source of law is the military department, which is the executive department, that, except to the extent inconsistent with the provisions of this act, the provisions of Title IV of the revised statutes, as now or hereafter amended, shall be applicable to the Department of Defense. So every last one of these codes that they're telling you about is applicable to the Department of Defense. You must be a member of the military in order for it to be applicable. And under resident, it must be deemed necessary. You can't just go apply as a volunteer in that regime. That is done through other programs for national and community service. But again, that's listed under their codes. So it's all redundant because it's impossible for that birth registration to be valid. And that's what their entire commercial system is based upon, because that birth enumeration at birth, birth registration, birth certificate is the establishment of a commercial entity and nothing more. Period. And it doesn't qualify for necessity. So let's go to the next one. Child. And this is under 42 U.S. Code again, 416, additional definitions. Subsection E, and it says child. The term child means the child or legally adopted child of an individual. So when mom goes into the hospital and registers as a citizen or a resident, they institute her in a health institute known as a foundling hospital, and they provide her inpatient hospital services starting the first day, and that's known as a spell of illness. And then on that first day, separate from the first day of any other spell of illness, she might give birth, giving data elements in a birth registration at enumeration at birth. Never qualified because she herself isn't necessary as a resident and is impossible to be a United States citizen. She wasn't born in the United States, and the only way you can be a United States citizen is to be born in the United States. But by the minimum birth registration requirements, you can be born in the United States or abroad. It doesn't matter. But again, it extends to the necessity. If you're not necessary as a United States citizen, you can't then be determined as a necessity for the resident in the state who was born in the United States and then recited in the state. It's an impossibility by the language, by the comments, by the fiction. It's impossible. Okay? So let's go to the next one. 5 U.S. Code 552A that I mentioned earlier, records, Maine, the Maine records, tained. Tained means hold, held. So they're holding the Maine, your information, the data elements you gave them, because their system won't operate it without. Their system is secondary. Their system is minor to your major. The majority, age of majority, on individuals. Those individuals, 26 USC 1031 says, exchange of real Oops. Exchange of real property held for productive use or investment. Inventory. Guess what? Every time you give a signature, it's an exchange of real property, and they're going to maintain the individual record and hold it for you. But under H, at the very bottom, it says special rules. I'm going to blow this one up for you real quick. Because under special rules, it says special rules for foreign real property. Real property located in the United States. Now, if there is no birth registration in the United States, then the United States has no real property invested in birth registrations in the state unless you agree to it with a proper, valid certification yourself stating your intent. It matters not what the state's intent is. You have to qualify it yourself with your own statement. And it says real property located in the United States and real property located outside the United States are not property of like kind. Oops. Oops. So, records maintained on individuals in division. You're in division. An individual is a you. It's a plural. You're living in a life of duality, not realizing you're not the man. Genesis 2:7. God formed man of the dust of the ground. That paper isn't you. When he breathed the breath of life into his nostrils, man became a living soul. To be or not to be, that is the question. Anybody got any comments yet? I got to go through the comments here and look it up here. Greetings, Chuck. AK Yogi, great to see you. Truther Cop, Kelly Knuckles, Robert Scott, Jack Off Jack, JK, appreciate it. Joshua, let me check StreamYard, see if anybody else has jumped up. Sonia is here. Greetings, Sonia. Sorry, I like I said, I'm new at this. I try to pay attention the best I can. I need to know what you guys think. What's going on? Samantha Sweet, thank you for joining. Our singer, Aaron. Ann asks, if you have property in Costa Rica or on Costa Rica and you sell it, how do we make sure we keep 100% of the money? You're in greed, gluttony, and all of that, dear. Leviticus 25 verses 23 through 25 tell us the land shall not be sold forever. Quit thinking of it in monetary terms. The land shall not be sold forever, for it is mine, and ye are strangers and sojourners with me. In all of the lands of your possession, ye shall grant a redemption to the land. That's your power, folks. You're supposed to grant the redemption by your own instructions if you heed them, if you heed scriptures. You can use that against them. Like I said, you have the act of God in you in every breath. Use it wisely. Coin your words or purse your lips. And the best way to coin your words is to use that scripture against them and do it with peace. To defeat one's opponent without fighting is of supreme excellence. Okay? Therefore, and then it continues on. If the brother shall be waxen and wane, he shall grant a redemption to him. This is Deuteronomy 15, wherein it tells us that the Lord's release is every 7 years. You're supposed to grant your brothers a release through the Lord by acting like the Lord, through the way Jesus taught us to love each other. Owe no man anything but to love one another, for that is to fulfill the law. Yes, foreign trade zones. Joshua, foreign trade zones, I'm not in your zone. I am outside of it, foreign to it. And if you wish to conduct any affairs with me, we can have a conversation and speak on it. Yes, the framers recognized it. Absolutely. Framers recognized the deal with God. Okay. But they also said in the First Amendment, Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion. Therefore, Congress is not even supposed to be talking about spirituality. Yet it turned around and made King James Version 1611 recognizable as the common law of the land. Do you really think we needed them to say that? The people that have firm faith? It's God's will in Titus 3:8. He wills that we constantly affirm that will through our good works that are profitable unto men. It's the only way. Jeremiah 1:5 again. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. Before thou wast cast from the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. Telling us that no nation can sanction the word of God through their ordinances, because we're already sanctified and ordained as prophets. I am ordained, and I do use the word chaplain as much as I can. Little cloak of the big cloak. So therefore put on the full armor of God. If you see any armaments missing, that would be your mistake. Right, Father? That's why I use scripture. Let's check again. Otherwise, I'm going to keep on rattling on. This is why I asked you guys up on the panel. I need your input. So if nobody's got any comment now, I'm going to keep going. 1, 2, 3. All right. Let's go on to the next one. Oops, what did I do? Well, let's stop screen share then. I screwed up. And share screen again. Okay, there we go. What is enumeration at birth and how does it work? The enumeration at birth, and this is straight from Social Security, from their manuals, okay, eliminates, the enumeration at birth eliminates the need, the necessity, okay? See what they're doing here? It eliminates the need for a parent to gather the necessary documents, complete an application for a Social Security card, and take or mail original documents to a Social Security office for processing. Because under the spell of illness, they took all that information and interpreted it for themselves and their own use. New parents at a hospital, birthing center, or using a licensed midwife can request a Social Security number during the birth registration process. That's the enumeration at birth that happens while you're under that spell of illness, inpatient hospital services, where you're doing his good works under his labor and his labor pains naturally, and going to discharge your man from your waters. You do the discharge, Mom, but you're not doing it appropriately and making the proper memorial and announcing the arrival of a legacy heir known as a living soul that you have given the name so-and-so, and he hails from the family, a house from Israel or of Israel or in the surname of Israel, at least according to the scriptures that I use. Okay. New parents at a hospital, birthing center, or using a licensed midwife can request a Social Security number. You're requesting a Social Security number, and they send you a card with the number on it so you can use the card, but you don't need the card. You just need the number. So you get the card, you send it back to them with a directive that you are not going to accept the trustee position and not going to allow any liabilities to be placed on the record, as that would be an accident according to their definitions. And again, I've shown these things before. It really takes a lot of study of the definitions that they're using for their comments to show that their definitions are false. They're fictions of their own imagination, their own thoughts. They don't compel you. They don't comply with your thoughts. But again, that's because I use the scripture. If you're using those codes, then they must comply with you. And you must comply with them. It's a working unison. And if you don't, they'll say you have to. So you have to find a way to show that you are working with them and they're doing it wrong. Through EAB, the Bureaus of Vital Statistics electronically send birth registration information to us, birth registration data. They're entering numbers and data elements. The key under postal regulations is to enter numbered keys, or to press numbered keys or other identifiers. That's the key. So what they're doing is they're collecting your data elements so they can hold them, and they're doing it electronically. That's an electronic funds transfer. It's initiating the funding. Okay? And we assign. Assignment is a trust term, an SSN, and the assigner is the grantor, and the one it's assigned to is the trustee. And SS number, they assign an SS number, issue a card, and automatically update our records with proof of birth. And you're the one that told them you were not a United States citizen and a resident, and gave them the address showing so. Oops. It really is very convoluted, folks. But if you know what's going on, you can show them all of these errors and show them how it's an impossibility for you to be subject to their jurisdictions. Any of them. So under the Bureau of Vital Statistics, they have state processing guidelines for enumeration at birth, which is a federal regulation saying that you're a U.S. citizen, born abroad, but you don't have a United States birth registration. They're accepting a false birth registration from a state. Period. And all you got to do is prove that your comment is false because you commented. According to etymology, that was only what I thought. I have a different thinking today that shows that it's false. So all you got to do is look this stuff up, and I'm going to link all this stuff in the chat. So I'm hoping somebody will take the board and open it up with some discussion so I can do that. Otherwise, you're going to listen to silence. So let's look at the next one. This is an interesting one I pulled up. Request for records disposition authority. Why would you request for records disposition authority? Why can't you just state it if you know this? This is the fallacy everybody has. They keep going in and requesting. You need to start learning how to, if you want knowledge, you have to go with knowledge. Just like if you want equity, you got to go with equity. If you want peace, you got to go with peace. To defeat one's opponent without fighting is a supreme excellence. So go in there not fighting. Go in there showing them that you agree with their codes, but somewhere somebody else is operating those codes wrongly. And notice it says National Archives and Record Administration. So the whole National Archives is under administration, and it's done through the Social Security Administration by the enumeration at birth, which is an agreement with the Social Security Administration to give you a number so that you can use it and place liabilities on the record. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, folks, you've been using the wrong number. You've been using the number on the front, which is Social Security number with a couple dashes in it. But if you take that Social Security number and take the dashes off, then it's a selective service number. But again, that selective service number is placing a liability on a military record. If you flip that card over, that's the exemption number. That shows that that proves that you have an exemption, because it shows that the enumeration at birth that took place qualifies you as a national, but it's not a real national, But because of that, it shows that no liability can be placed on you, and that's the exception, not the exemption, the exception that it can't be applicable. If you're using an exemption, then you apply it yourself first and then take an exemption. Okay? Agency certification. I hereby certify that I am required, I am authorized to act for this agency in matters pertaining to the disposition of its records. That's what happens when you hold and you maintain the record. You hold liability. Any holder of the record holds liability. That record is where the liability sits. The authorized representative giving an unambiguous signature on the instrument is therefore not liable for the person named in the instrument. Then where does it lie? It lies in the instrument. Quit signing for it. It's not your duty. You have no obligation. You took upon it voluntarily, and that dismisses the necessity. Show them that you're not required because you're not necessary to their system. The next one. This is just yet. 1998 Florida Code, Title 29, Public Health, Chapter 382, Vital Statistics, Social Security Numbers, Enumeration at Birth. Their Florida Code shows that the Enumeration at Birth program, which is a federal program, is instituted through the state Social Security numbers under the Bureau of Vital Statistics for public health. Whereas if you have a confidential record, they remove and redact all public health information. How do I know? Because it's not my health information. It's health information that's put on a piece of paper, and that's fiction. So you better redact it and only put on what belongs to you. And then if it's comprehensible and readable, then people can believe in it. But not until then. But in the meantime, many people look up this public record on other people and say, yeah, he's a criminal. Those are just comments, and they're all fiction. Are you a criminal? Imminal. Look that one up. I am I-N-A-L. I am in all. I'm in all. I am. Oh, goodness. They just added a CR on it and fucked you all up. Social Security numbers, enumeration at birth program. The department shall make arrangements with the United States Social Security Administration. The military operates at the federal level and trickles down to the state level because the states ceded their jurisdiction to the United States. And the military has no sovereignty because the United States is located in Washington, D.C., and Washington, D.C. has no statehood. And therefore, where all operations are administrated from. To participate in the voluntary enumeration at birth. Oh, goodness. Did resident disqualify? Everybody says I'm a resident because I was born here. Check out my birth certificate. Really? Really? Was it necessary or voluntary? Because if it wasn't deemed necessary, then it's false. In origin even. Not just in comment, but false in origin. False in your own thinking. False in your own commenting. False in your own giving. It was a false giving. You're supposed to thank God, not falsity. The state registrar is authorized to take any actions necessary to administer the program in this state, including modifying the procedures and forms used in the birth registration process. That doesn't sound like the process due at all. I'm sorry to blow your mind. So, what do you guys think? Because that's the end of my presentation. Anything? 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 All you got to do is unmute. I'm going to drop down to the lower chat, start dropping these codes and everything. Greetings, DD214. Why do you do this to me? Miranda, thank you for joining. Hope everybody's enjoying the presentation. Again, I remind everybody, hit that like button, share, and subscribe. I see there's only 39 viewers. I wish I could get this up, but that's upon you guys. I'm sharing it as in all my forums, so please, you guys start sharing this in your forums. Thanks, Coke Dog, Kyla. Appreciate everybody showing up. And let me start grabbing these. If you go back and check out the video again, you'll see all these things that I've been pointing out. But for your own convenience, I am going to drop them in the lower chat to keep you reminded. You guys should be, if you're watching this live, you should be taking these notes. Let's see here. Any comments, please? I mean, this shows that I'm shitty at this, and I told you I'm getting better, but I really hope you guys would come up with some questions or comments in the background. You know, please help me out here. Don't just come up on panel and sit there silent. That's why I asked you up on panels to have some input, folks. Greetings, Truth Seeker. Shit. Okay, the first link I wanted to show you is too long for the comment section here. So what I might do is go ahead and edit this this video and just put everything in the regular comments, which is what I should actually do so everybody viewing afterwards can see them too. But for now, I'm gonna try to put these other comments in the chat section as much as possible. So the first link in regards to 42 U.S. Code Chapter 7, 42 U.S. Code Section 301. That one I cannot paste. My apologies. So that one, like I said, I'll paste in the comments and the details when I update. The next one, the code for child. What is the most effective method to use this presentation to eliminate internal revenue system propping up a criminal cartel acting as a state? Private communications. You communicate with everybody in private, and like I said, you put them in their place, let them know you know what you're talking about, and they can't dismiss it because you prove them as impossibilities, and that they're the ones under the Y-O-U, plural, and they are the ones that owe a debt to the United States. Let me grab these other few links for everybody. Got the individual record coming. That individual record is a employee record. As you notice, it's under 5 USC, which is employees. And they maintain an individual record on you because you gave, or your mom gave them the data elements first, and you remarked the same way. I wouldn't apply for a passport at all. Psalms 128 or 121 verse 8 shows that you are already in agreement with their passport system, and therefore you are as a ambassador of God. You pose the same thing, that you are able to be a stranger and a sojourner unto foreign nations. That passport is a requirement for you to prevent you from leaving if they need to lock you down. Okay. But if you're an ambassador of God, according to the Geneva Convention, with a limited diplomatic immunity, and you're sojourning onto other nations as a stranger to learn their culture and then exchange your talents by giving them free education about your talents so that you can come back with 10 talents instead of 5, that's the commission. You're on the same mission. So you learn how to agree with them by learning the stuff where they say it, and you can enter into it. Yeah. Thank you, Joshua. Not the Geneva Convention, the Vienna Convention, 1961, as a diplomat. My apologies. Vienna Convention for diplomacy, and Geneva Convention under the Red Cross for civilian. Okay. That's your local civilian. Okay, and the next one is the one explaining enumeration at birth and how it works from the Social Security. And the next one is the State Bureau of Vital Statistics guidelines. And when I put these down, when I edit the details on this and put them down in the lower section, guys, I'll go ahead and put what the links are referring to, because I'm in this chat here. You either have to read that link itself to get some kind of idea of what it is, but it may not match what we're talking about in the video here. Like the one I just gave you, it talks about data exchange, but it doesn't say anything about the enumeration at birth and how it operates. The next one is the form showing that the requirement for the certification and through the administration of the Social Security for National Archives for the disposition authority. And then we have the last one, which is the Florida Justia for the Social Security enumeration at birth connection. And I hope you guys are seeing how this is all put together, because like I said, when I showed you that first one for USC 301 and the enumeration at birth to substantiate the 4 USC 301 requirements and how it's not valid, that 42 USC 301 is a contract for acquisitions with a member of the state, not you. And when you go into that hospital, moms, and under that spell of illness and apply for that Social Security number, what you're actually doing is you're applying for a trustee position without knowing that there's two positions. You've got the private side on the back and the public side on the front, and you're instructed to always use the number on the front without being instructed that there's two uses for the number on front. The one where the dashes is included, and then the selective service use, which is without the dashes, which is for their court registry investment system of administration, where they use the exact same number. They list it as an obligor according to the Government Publishing Office Styles Manual, and enter you as an investor without disclosing that. And that's the falsity. Same with your hospitals. When you go to the hospital or a doctor and get a prescription, look on your prescription. They're not going to, in bold, bright, highlight yellow, they're going to have all uppercase, just the first 4 letters of your last name. So if your last name is Smith and it's got 5 letters, it's going to have uppercase SMIT, and it's not going to have an H. Scott, I'm sorry I didn't see you there. Please unmute and make any comments you need to. Otherwise, I'm getting ready to shut it down real quick because I've said all I've got to say.
Not much to say, just
And
been
here
learning.
is the etymology link for comment. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Right. Why do you do this to me? Yes, I do hear you, Scott.
It's
Greetings.
quite interesting. Learning a lot. Greetings to you. Appreciate all the information, and obviously I've seen you many times before, so all the information combined. Just trying to gather it all in, take it in, and overstand it, if you will, because it is a lot, and they've been some tricky bastards out here.
It has, and it's all been underlined through a process that, as we saw in 5 USC 301, says it's not necessary, but yet it's supposed to be necessary. That's the impossibility. There, what is done is what ought be done. There is nothing new under the sun. And you're trying to tell me I got to create a new birth registration that isn't going to be registered in the United States while claiming I'm a United States citizen. That's an impossibility. That would be a lie, and I can't lie.
Have you heard, you've heard of the band Kansas, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Have you heard the song No One's Together?
Yep.
Sounds like they're talking about this right here. No one's together. No one's touching ground. Look at each other. Chaos is all around. Same situation. Nothing is new. No one's together. No one. That's me and you.
Yeah, that's part of a kind of wording at the bottom of the screen. You are the cream of the crop. All you have to do is rise.
Oh man, what is that?
You got to have the right leaven.
The beginning of it is kind of telling too. My buddy was violinist Robbie Steinhardt for many years. He passed away a couple of years ago. I lived in Tampa, Florida. My dad built him a house on the water, so I was like the wayward son from 13 on. You know, I mean, when Garth Brooks said, "What kid didn't consider himself the wayward son?" I mean, like Robbie was picking me up at the bus stop, and we were going to play video games. He loved to play pinball, but that song just keeps hitting me. The more I learn about this, because the beginning of it literally says, "Centuries of backwards ways have many left behind us. Who could count the good men gone away? The fruits of our labors have left us where we've started. We've come too far to end it in a day. But nothing used to be. To live and die, it's still a mystery. We take it all and give nothing back. We just consume it all until we lack."
Yep.
It's like, holy man. Kerry Livgren wrote that. And he wrote later on in another album, he wrote Nobody's Home, which is kind of like, didn't you listen to Nobody's Together? No One's Together? You know, it's interesting stuff.
Oops, I got a couple more people. Oh,
Absolutely. I'll yield, and I do appreciate your time.
Greetings, Katrina and Queen of Torts. Glad you joined us. What's in your minds? What do you want to comment? Greetings. If you hover above the screen, you should see the things at the bottom. You should be able to unmute, folks. Everybody has the ability to unmute themselves. I can't do it for you. You got to. All right, let me go through the comments and chat section real quick then again and see what we got. And then I'm out. Let's see here. Okay, you gotta quit using them terms and everything. You're just gonna make your statement. Private conversations on paper or through email, stating as much as the truth as you know and letting them know you know it. Showing them the impossibilities and stuff. Legacy heirs, Miranda writes, not children or children, offspring. No, it's your manifestation, your creation. You were co-creators through procreation with a man, and you brought about a legacy heir, a living soul. Yes, tertiary. You are tertiary. In other words, it's territory because you have a firmament, which is terrestrial. This is the extraterrestrial that we're talking about. We're not of this world. We are the extraterrestrial. Okay? You think about extraterrestrials, that's truly what it means. And not only changed by deceived by the changing of the meaning of the words, but the sounds and inflections, like I showed you earlier. You have real, which is the base word, and then you have the ITY or the TY, and then you have this thing that many people don't see and they miss, and that's the reality. And when you look at the suffix ality, you saw what that meant. It was the taking away from the thing. And that's what they're doing. They're using that term against you, and you're using it. Reality. You keep saying my reality, and it's not reality. It's real-ity. Just like behave is not behave, it's behave. To behave and to behold. Do you take so-and-so to behave and to behold? To be or not to be? That is the question. So think about it. And that's the same thing with knowledge. It's not knowledge, because if you see the two words for what they are and put the proper contraction in there, that hyphen, and put them together properly and pronounce them separately as they're meant to be pronounced, it comes out knowledge. This is what tells me we're supposed to learn. We're supposed to know. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Okay. Anybody else? Mike L., Sonia, Queen of Torch, you just came back. You got to be hearing me. Katrina, please speak. I need a piece of your mind to be calm with. Calm meant. Calm with. Meant. Mentality. Mind. I need you to come together with my mind. All right. Well, Scott, you got anything else?
My mind goes ablaze with this stuff. I just think it, kind of you listening to Paul Enslaved, listening to some of the stuff that's, just caught my attention recently. Now going back and trying to get into the archives of, stuff, I tend to fast forward. You seem to, and Paul seem to drop a lot of bombs. I mean, just makes your mind go, okay, where the hell am I, and what rabbit hole did I just find now? So I just finding people like you and continuing to do stuff like this, I think is important for everybody. I wonder how to get a group of, the Pauls, the Dereks, and do a seminar at a stadium or something and broadcast it, like push them right the hell out the window with it and say,
I would love nothing better than to get together with Paul on a stage and others, because that would help him feel more comfortable. As we've listened to him say, the first time he got on stage, he was scared. And that's the same thing that we all have to go through. We have to learn how to go through our fears, like he talks about.
Maybe the way to do that, okay, and I'm involved with the motion picture television industry a little bit, have been for years through music. It started with that, but maybe the way to do that is to put together a film. I can get a film into film festivals. And
that's eventually what a lot of this content that we're putting together, it is creative content, and it's very good content for such film. So
absolutely. But there's a lot more to what's going on behind the scenes that I don't think that, almost I would, and sorry for interrupting, but I'd almost say you guys should start filming your day-to-day so that you have that, because it's content. It's just
I told you, I've said many times, this is not my life, folks. This is not what I want to do. There are other things out there that I wish to do. Greetings, Joseph Kent Bay. I want to go out and get my fishing in. I want to go out and do my survival techniques and stuff, all this kind of stuff. And as you see, I've come up with some videos I did in recent health issues in regards to my surgery or my cancer and treatment. By
the way, thank you. I've shared that. I've shared some of the stuff that I did learn with my sister, turned her boyfriend onto that and said, look, you got to follow this alkalinity and water in your body. It's like a pool. It turns green.
Yeah, I keep my container of pH strips right here. And my baking soda. It's always within reach.
Absolutely.
Always within reach, along with my vape pen and oil. So I'm good to go. Plus, I've got apricot seeds, and I've got some chokeberry seeds coming as well. Most of your seeds, your fruit seeds, apple seeds, grape seeds. This is why they say the seeds. They have what is it? They have a poison. They have an element in there that's poisonous to you, and so they ban a lot of seeds in the United States. So you have to order them from Canada. But the thing is that the apricot seeds, this is the scripture. He gave you all fruit bearing and herb bearing seeds, and these ye shall call meat. Okay, so it's not necessarily the fruits, it's the meat. And this is why people can survive on just eating seeds. It gives you all the nutrients you need, as long as arsenic. There you go.
Yeah.
No, not arsenic, cyanide. Cyanide.
There you go.
Every seed has a minute amount of cyanide, and that's why they taste bitter. Okay, but it's just a minute amount. You can't ever eat enough to kill yourself, I don't think. The cyanide that you have that kills you is a structured form with sulfurs and other things. So they're banning it because it has cyanide in it is false. That's a false ban. You can't ban something that which is natural, even if it's a fucking coral snake. That a coral snake is a matter of a right to know, okay? Because we have a right to know by experience of encountering coral snakes that they're poisonous, okay? I have a right to educate people. This is the going forth in the parable of the talents, going forth with your talents and teaching people. I have private firsthand experience with cancer, and I'm telling you what I'm doing with it. So you can't restrict apricot seeds if that's what I'm using to cure what you call cancer. And you affirm that, yeah, it's in remission. So how can you say anything other than that? I am posing truth, and what your record reflects is false. And I can prove it through the etymology of comment itself.
Exactly. Have you heard of B17 with dogs and like a monkey? If you throw a peach pit or a peach to a monkey's
Yes.
gonna throw the whole peach away and eat the seed, the pit.
Yes. Yes.
We just don't know what we're supposed to know.
Exactly. It's been hidden from us for a long time.
So it seems as though the animals, I was reading something the other day, like the mushroom, you want to eat the mushroom out in the wild that has insects flying on it, because the other ones, they won't go near it.
Exactly.
Like that,
I do mushrooms, or did. I did quite a few of them out there in the mountains out east. And I showed a lot of pictures where you can see where animals bit off. That's specifically why I knew that they were probably okay. Because if the animals are still eating from them, then through their own nature, they know it's okay. But there are ones that you can sit back and watch them eat and see that they end up getting intoxicated. They start stumbling and stuff. That should tell you to beware what you eat, or how much, or how you eat it. That's why I always tested them first. Touch the mushroom, see if it did anything to the finger. Then touch the mushroom, touch it to your lip while it's dry. Then touch the mushroom and touch it to your wet tongue. If you don't get any reactions, that mushroom is probably going to be pretty damn good for you. If you get a reaction, it might be better for you, but you have to remember it's probably going to be psychedelic. So be very careful on how much you use.
So you do want to microdose with the psilocybin.
Right. Well, and that's what it is about being pharmaceutical. He who is whole is in need of no physician. So this is telling us we're supposed to be our own pharmacists by observing nature and its natural creatures and how they benefit from eating an old rotten apple and getting drunk. See, it doesn't have to be a mushroom. You see a little tiny chipmunk eat his full of an apple and sit there. By the time he's done eating a full of apple, and he's got his cheeks full of more chunks of apple, but the apple is rotted, he's already getting intoxicated. And as he starts walking away, he's wobbling. That's where man got the concept of, well, let's eat a bunch of apples and see if we can. Yeah. Same thing with mushrooms. It's just that mushrooms, if you eat one, it can kill you. If you eat one fermented apple, it's not going to do shit to you. But if you eat a bunch of them, you can get a feeling of intoxication. Whereas if you ferment it right, you can get fucked up. But it still won't kill you until you drink a certain amount.
Excuse me for interrupting. When I was young, I got arrested for cannabis. And At 13 years old, they gave me in the state of Florida arbitration. So get this, write 13 book reports, 1,000 words each on 13 different books on marijuana. My dad took me to every library, every bookstore for 5 counties. We found freaking 6 books, I think. My dad looked at me at 13 years old. Of course, my friend would become Robbie Steinhardt from Kansas, because after this adventure, when my dad looked at me and said, I know this is going to be a bad idea, but you're going to have to learn about other drugs. He's just, what is he going to do?
Yeah.
Next thing you know, I'm reading about Timothy Leary and LSD and psilocybin and shit. But as far as psilocybin mushrooms, they can be dangerous and very dangerous, because if they're grown in the ground and there's 10 in aluminum at all, anywhere within like 5 feet of them, that becomes a poisonous mushroom.
Yep.
So
and another thing, somebody just mentioned the Hunza tribe. When they first started researching the Hunza tribe, the people of the Hunza tribe were living an average of 120 years. Some of them were telling the people that they were living 160 years. Now, since they've become somewhat socialized and subjected to the outer society in those years, their average lifespan now is only 90. Dropped 30 years, getting very close to the rest of society. And that's because they're giving up and not eating the apricot seeds like they used to.
friggin' McDonald's moved in down the block.
Yeah.
Well, it just doesn't make sense. Well, I mean, that's the whole system is designed to just fall apart, it seems. I mean, it's, the money system's designed to crash, or, the doctors are designed to make you just sick enough to make you come back. I mean, everything has gone. It's a corporatocracy that ends up saying the bottom line dictates we can't give you the best. We've just got to make you think you got the best.
Yep. And that's truly what people think. They think they've got the best, and they're always doing their best to keep up with the Joneses next door. You've been bamboozled. Really, you have. The better life is to be able to grow your own garden. I remember when I was a kid, there was an apple tree, a pear tree, a plum tree, and a grapevine. Okay. And I remember eating the fruits whole, guaranteed. We ate the grapes and the seeds and the pits. And people really got to get out of this thing of keeping up with the Joneses and realize that if you do what's natural, you're going to be far better off than the Joneses. There's a different prosperity. Keeping up with the Joneses as if though you're looking for that commercial system is the deception.
The problem with that is the real you, the authentic you, is what you're supposed to be searching for. And unfortunately, people don't even know how to look in the mirror for that. And ultimately, I think, in my interpretation of everything I've learned, is that what you're looking for to keep up with the Joneses is to be the best version of yourself. And you can do that. And the fact is, nobody else can. Not for you. You have to do it for you. So that doesn't mean you're going to be as good as the guy next door or better, but it's going to be you're going to be as good as you can be. And that's your determination when you look in the mirror, that you've measured up to your own expectations. And if each one of us can do that, then we can lift everybody up next to us.
Yep. And I was just reading Mike L's comment in the private chat, and he said it specifically, the breakaway society. And we have them. We have self-sustaining societies now. And we need to start working on doing that more, not growing those self-sustaining societies, but help incorporate more of them, or establish more of them. Because the problem with today is that these societies have gotten so large, the communities have gotten so large that it's a huge scab because of the commercial. That's the intent of these communal societies today. We need to develop the communal societies that are self-sufficient, that are actually growing the stuff from the land like we're meant to, along the riverways and waterways and stuff, and providing that to the communities directly, right next to us. All of these imports and exports in and out of these communities is taking all those sources from us and using it for commercial purposes. Whereas we can be the grantors to the communities, and then the people in the communities that receive those grants are always willing to help out these self-sufficient societies. Everything extra they have, they tend to give to them. You should check it out. They get a lot of volunteer and donations from their communities because of what they do. It is working, but you got to keep them small.
My fear is the walkable city, the 15-minute city, you know, where they're going to try and push everybody closer and closer, which is going to be to the metropolitan areas. But I like your idea, and I think that could happen in most rural of areas. You just have to set up the community organization that'll do it. And it's government's too big somehow or another. And I know that, you know, I haven't joined the state nationals or anything like that. I don't want to be a member of a club that had me as a member.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there was
you know one.
Huh?
Without you knowing.
Yeah. So, I mean, at any rate, I think there's something to be said for we have to do what you're talking about. It needs to be done, and it needs to be done on a grand scale, but individual. Like each person, you know, each man in the community that decides to stand up, he needs more men to stand up with him. You know,
Yep.
and I think that, you know, a blueprint, like talking about this is a big step, obviously, but a blueprint, getting some the background of you going fishing, the background of you going to your doctor's appointments, the background of you messing around with your bike. You don't need 10, 20 minutes, 30 minutes of it in the clip, but a couple clips of that and a couple little interactions show who you are. Once people start figuring out a little more than what, here's what I have in my mind. Is with the subject matter that some of us talk about when it comes to the principles and the principalities and the government and our disillusion with aforementioned BS. A lot of people that are patriots, that are loving, you know, life, that feel like money is money and they're fine. They paid their bills last week, so everything. They just don't want to hear it. They're going to go and stop. Wait, what do you mean there's no money? I'm like, okay, all I want you to do is read. Okay, and a couple quick questions is the government of corporations. The United States allowed to create a corporation? Is Congress acting outside of their purview? You know, everything is wrong. And I know I'm dealing with a court case right now. When you go in to the courts, you have no rights. You're literally, everything is backwards and upside down. The Stranger Things show Upside Down World, they're just telling us what we're living.
Yep.
You know? So the Matrix and all that, I mean, it is, but like you said, you figured it out. And that's why I love you. Peace, brother. Peace to the gods for bringing me to you and others that have opened my eyes, because I fell off a horse years ago, hit my head, and I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but you know what? I try extra hard. I go and read things 2 or 3 times over. I'll listen to things as they're being read to me and read along to make sure that I get that kinesthetic, that auditory, and the visual. And then if I write it down, I'm getting the kinesthetic even more. And, you know, listening to myself, I'm trying to retain as much as I can, if you will.
Yeah.
You know?
That's the way you do it, folks. I tell people, don't believe me. Don't believe your neighbor. Don't believe the government. For crying out loud, don't believe your mother. Do your research so you know. And research means you got to research it over and over again. Even the teacher in school told you to proofread your own work so she could give you a good grade. So this is the same way it goes in court. If you have the proper language and the proper construction, you don't have to go to court.
Can I give a suggestion to your viewers here? I've downloaded Explorer, Internet Explorer, I think IE6 or something. And when I pull up PDFs through that, it'll read it all to me aloud. So I can follow along and let it read. And then if I have a distraction where I can't keep reading, I'm still right there logged in, even though I'm not reading along.
Yeah, and there are apps that you can use through your other search engines that will allow you to do that too.
Yeah, and I mean that helps with.
Look up the TTP program. It's for people that need hearing assistance.
Well, and you know what? We all do, because sometimes we misinterpret what's said, and that visual, auditory, that going together, your retention just has to go up. That's just a given. But I yield once again. Thanks.
All right. Well, I'm going to go through the comments here real quick here. Let's see here. Somebody said something here. Oh, yeah, JK, turkey tail mushrooms, another one for cancer. Okay. All these different things, you know, They don't have a psychedelic effect, but there are a lot of mushrooms out there, like I said, that I ate that didn't have psychedelic effects, but they have other effects according to your health. So we have to think about this stuff. And I want to say thanks to JK and Fourth Dimension for joining us. Sunshine Time, thanks for subbing. Young Money, We Free, good to see everybody. JF Fit or J Fit, greetings. We're just at the tail end, guys. Mitchell, I saw you were here. Thanks for joining. Who else? I think I got everybody. I will do my best to fix the spelling error. I just realized I didn't say reality. It's reality, which we didn't even go over. But RAL again is just short for rule. So remember that. Anything that starts RA, Ra, is Ra-El, is rule of God. Okay? It's all the same stuff. You got to go back to the origins, and it's through phonic pronunciation. First and foremost, when we first started to speak, we were going, ooh, ooh, and pointing and shit like that. It wasn't until we got a foundation of various different sounds that we started speaking in a semblance of recognition. And it wasn't until that we determined that there was a way to write it down. So again, think about that. That's the third declension of what is real, is when you write it down. That's why a comment is fiction. Okay? Just like Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain, and Tom Sawyer. By the time you get to Tom Sawyer, you damn well better know it's fiction. Because Samuel Clemens, as a comment, started out as fiction. So think about that. Because comment, his name, Samuel, was given from mom. Okay? That's with her mentality. So it doesn't matter how much Samuel Clemens thinks he understands his name, Samuel Clemens. It was given from his mother, and therefore it has to go from his mom's mentality. What did mom mean by naming him Samuel? Okay? And that's already gone. So, or you got to go back to mom and ask her, and that's your next of kin, right, guys? Everybody thinks dad's the next of kin. Oh, no. Mom's your next of kin. Dad ain't no next of kin. He's not even your kin. Okay? The dowry comes from mom. We are in this world. We're still in the womb. Okay? We're still in the womb waiting to ascend and be discharged as the man into our spirituality, because then we've comprehended we don't need to follow the manual. Now we can be spiritual. To be or not to be? That is the question. Do you behave or do you behave? So anyway, spoken, written, and listen to, learn, and see one, do one, teach one is how it solidifies it in the mind and body. Yes. That's why research cannot be explained enough. Awesome. Yes. Mitchell just brought something up, a great aspect that we do not even speak about so much as this, as it relates to cancers. We're feeding our pets the same kinds of processed foods and stuff, and denying them the real natural diet that they're supposed to have too. And in nature, a lot of animals do eat seeds, dogs particularly. And I want to point out that dogs used to climb trees and cats didn't. Now it's the other way around. Cats have evolved to climb trees and dogs stay on the ground. And it's particular to their diets. They changed. But in that diet change, their body, in getting things out of Mother Nature naturally, still provides for things that you don't see cancer in the wild much. You're getting to see it more and more because they're eating the corn that Monsanto and everybody's putting out as seed corn. Think about that. Generally, you don't have animals that get cancer because they eat a natural diet. Man come up with cancer about 60 years ago. It's new. So think about it. Thanks for bringing that up. Appreciate that, Mitchell. All right. Well, I think that's about it. I've been trying to stay up. Ionic bond from Vortec water. Yep. binding the minerals coming down the mountains. If you research Victor Schauberger, and he's gonna have a couple wonderful videos on there about vortical currents, and that's how water gains power. As it circles in on itself, it goes faster, proving that there's more power. So that when you check the current at the end of at the beginning of this vortex, as opposed to where it's funneling at a point, the temperature will be minutely different, just like piezoelectric. Two crystals rocking together create a very minute current. Same thing with water. It's going faster and faster and causing that molecule to squeeze together tighter and tighter, and it wants to push out farther and farther. So think about this stuff. Anyway, I appreciate everybody. I see Iman El Bay came in. Appreciate it. Everybody be sure to Professor Bear, thank you. Be sure to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And please hit that PayPal button for anybody who wants to share some love if you can. Like I said, I'm working on that with PayPal this afternoon. I'm getting off here and hitting the phone call to get on with PayPal to set up a credit setup so that they can understand that I'm the one that the credit's supposed to go through and that they're not supposed to be holding it, no matter who donates. Okay? So think about this stuff. And remember, folks, I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. Have a good day, guys.